My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
This is Comics Compared, where we take a look at either a film, TV show, or video game adaptation and compare it to its comics counterpart. With Halloween coming up, this time around we'll be looking at the TV show The Walking Dead. Now, potential spoilers ahead. Adaptations can be hard things to get right. You have fans of the source material who want to see the material on screen, but if you follow too much to the source material, your show becomes predictable. Especially with The Walking Dead, which unsurprisingly features a lot of deaths and serious injuries, both things that can be considered huge plot points and spoilers. It can be hard to engage with a show if you know how it's going to end. This is why the TV version of The Walking Dead will change injuries, deaths, relationships and other key events, or swap the characters involved. That is what most of the differences are going to be in this comparison. Now let's have a look at some examples. For example, Sophia's fate. One of the main plot points of Season 2 is the gang trying to find Sophia. Once they do, it is revealed that she is a walker and is killed dead. However, in the comics, she is very much alive. Instead of dying like she does in Season 2, she actually becomes an adopted child of both Glenn and Maggie. Another difference is Tyrese's death. In the comics, his is similar to Herschel's being beheaded by the governor. In the show, however, he is bitten by a walker and tries to fight it, even cutting off his own arm. He sees other dead characters whilst hallucinating who convince him to give in, and eventually he does. Another death that is different is Laurie's death. On the show she dies during childbirth, however in the comics she has the baby, up until during an invasion when both are shot and die. Now let's talk about Rick's ladies friends. On the show, Rick forms a relationship with Michonne, whereas in the comics he's with Adria, who is still very much alive. Abraham's death, the huge cliffhanger leading into Season 7 was who was Negan gonna kill. In the comics it's just Glenn, however the show adds Abraham to the mix to give a false security for Glenn's life. Abraham's deaths in the comic is actually like Denise's death in the show, being shot in the eye mid-speech. Now let's talk about Rick's hand. One thing constantly teased in the show from the comics is Rick and his hand. In the comics, Rick loses it early on and it becomes a major part of his character. There have been many close calls on the show, but for now his hands are safe. Another thing TV show adaptations do is add characters of their own. This allows them to have more creative control on the characters, their story, and the overall story, creating unique situations. In The Walking Dead, we have Beth, Merle, and most notably, Daryl, one of the most popular characters on the show. Although not an original TV show character, the Carol on the show is much different to her comic counterpart. This Carol is much stronger and better defined as a character in the show compared to the comics. Now, let's take a journey through the seasons and the issues/volumes in the comics that inspired those seasons. The first 2 seasons only cover a few issues, extending the stories in the comics by adding their own stuff. An example of this would be The Farm, which takes up a whole season, but only a few issues in the comics. Overall, in the first 2 seasons, they only cover Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the comics. Season 3, however, covers 4 volumes of the story from the comics, Volumes 3 to 7. It is after this that the show starts to catch up to the source material, while still managing to separate itself away from the source material, with what it excludes from the comics, as well as the stuff they make up for the show. Now, Season 4 covers just under 4 volumes, the last half of Volume 7, as well as 8 to 10. Season 5 covers Volumes 11 to 13. Season 6, you've got Volumes 14 to 17. Season 7 just has Volumes 18 and 19, which felt like a sort of filler season, which is no surprise as these volumes were just build up issues to a big event, which is Season 8, which covers volumes 20 and 21, called All Out War, just like the season, and this is the big event thing. The show is in touching distance to the comics, yet not catching it, but it is not years behind, meaning the future of the show is more open than it has ever been before, and more open than any other comic book shows which have years and years of lore to pick on and choose choose how they want to interpret it. Especially with the show's differences that they've already used, this openness is very clear. So now the show and the comics seem to offer two different narratives for the fans of either or both to enjoy. If you like the show, why not check out where it all started? You can read the whole thing or check out volumes from your favourite season. As always with adaptations, there's going to be similarities, differences, and always comparisons. Sorry if I stumbled on this report quite a bit. I'm trying to do it in one take. It's a struggle, but let me know what you guys think of it, and I'll bear it in mind for the future.
To listen to Geek of the Week, be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.